You are not stuck because you are weak. You are stuck because your brain learned the wrong pattern. And if you don't break this pattern, it will quietly control your entire life. Think about it. How many times have you planned something important, only to hesitate at the last moment? How many times have you felt that tight pressure in your chest? That invisible force pulling you back? You tell yourself, "I'll do it later. I need more preparation. Now is not the right time." But deep down, you know the truth. It's not timing. It's not preparation. It's fear. And here's the part no one tells you. The people you admire, the ones who take action, who speak confidently, who move forward without hesitation, they are not fearless. They just don't obey fear anymore. There was a man who learned this the hard way. His name was Daniel. From the outside, Daniel looked like he had everything under control. A well-paid job, a modern apartment, respect from colleagues. But inside, he was collapsing. Every morning, he woke up with a silent tension sitting in his chest. Not pain, not panic, just pressure. Like something was always about to go wrong. He avoided speaking up in meetings. He avoided conflict. He avoided risks. Not because he didn't want more from life, but because every time he tried, his body stopped him. His heart would race. His throat would tighten. His thoughts would spiral. What if I mess up? What if they judge me? What if I'm not good enough? So instead of acting, he worked harder. More hours. More effort. More results. To everyone else, it looked like ambition. But in reality, he was running. Running from situations that exposed him. Running from anything that could reveal the truth he feared the most. That he wasn't enough. And then one day, everything broke. It happened during a presentation. A room full of people. Senior executives. Important clients. All eyes on him. This was his moment. He stood up. Opened his mouth. And nothing came out. His voice cracked. His hand started shaking uncontrollably. Sweat ran down his back. His vision blurred. And within seconds, he lost control. Not physically. Mentally. He walked out mid-presentation. Locked himself in a bathroom stall. Sat on the cold floor. And for the first time in his life, he didn't try to hide it. I can't keep living like this. That was the moment everything changed. Because most people reach this point and go back to comfort. They avoid more, shrink more, hide better. But Daniel did something different. Not because he was brave, but because he was tired. A few days later, a friend told him about a small training place on the edge of the city. Not a gym. Not therapy. Something unusual. They don't teach fighting, his friend said. They teach control. Daniel almost laughed. He didn't believe in things like that. But desperation has a strange effect on people. It makes you try things you normally wouldn't. So he went. The place was quiet. No loud music. No mirrors. No distractions. Just a simple room. And an older man standing in the center. The instructor looked at Daniel for a few seconds. Not judging. Just observing. Then he asked one question. Why are you here? Daniel immediately responded with something safe. I want to improve myself. Learn discipline. Maybe self-defense. The man raised his hand slightly. Stop. Silence filled the room. That's not the reason. Daniel felt something shift inside him. You're here, the man continued calmly. Because something inside you is out of control. Daniel didn't answer. Because he couldn't. For now, the man said. You think fear is your enemy. A pause. But you are wrong. That sentence didn't motivate Daniel. It confused him. I can remove your fear, the man continued. But if I do, you will become weaker. Daniel frowned. That made no sense. Fear is not the problem, the man said. Your reaction to it is. He stepped closer. Right now, your body reacts to discomfort as if it's danger. Judgment feels like attack. Uncertainty feels like threat. Failure feels like death. Another pause. But none of those can actually harm you. Daniel stood still. Listening. For years, the man said quietly. You've been training your mind in the wrong direction. Every time you avoid something, you teach your brain, this is dangerous. And your fear grows. Daniel felt something uncomfortable rising in his chest again. Not panic. Recognition. So what do I do? He finally asked. The man looked directly into his eyes. You don't eliminate fear. You retrain your response. And then he said something Daniel would never forget. You don't need courage to act. You need control. That was the beginning. Not of confidence. Not of strength. But of something far more dangerous. Awareness. Because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. And Daniel was about to realize that his entire life had been built inside a loop he didn't even know existed. The first thing Daniel expected when he returned to the training room was progress he could see. Something visible. Something physical. Something that would make him feel like he was finally becoming stronger. But what he got instead felt almost disappointing. There were no punches. No techniques. No dramatic transformations. Just silence. And the same instruction as before. Sit. This time, Daniel didn't question it. He sat down slowly, but his mind was already restless. Close your eyes. He obeyed again. But now, something was different. He wasn't just following instructions. He was paying attention. Focus on your breathing, the instructor said calmly, his voice steady and controlled, almost as if it carried no emotion at all. At first, Daniel tried to do exactly that. But within seconds, he realized something frustrating. He couldn't. His thoughts kept interrupting. What am I doing here? This won't change anything. I need something real, something practical. And then suddenly, good, the instructor said. Daniel's eyes opened immediately. I didn't do anything, he replied, slightly irritated. You did, the instructor said. You noticed. That word stayed in the air. Noticed. You are beginning to see the problem, the instructor continued slowly. You cannot control your mind, because you have never observed it. Daniel leaned back slightly, confused but curious. Your breathing is not calm, the instructor said. It is reactive. Your thoughts are not intentional. They are automatic. And your fear, a small pause, is the result of both. That hit deeper than Daniel expected. Because for the first time, he wasn't being told to be confident or stop being afraid. He was being shown something much more uncomfortable. That he wasn't in control. "Now we begin," the instructor said. He demonstrated again. "Inhale, for seconds." Daniel followed more carefully this time. "Hold, 4. There was tension. Exhale, 6. Longer. Slower. Hold, 2. Silence. Again. And again. And again. This time, Daniel didn't rush. He focused. Really focused. And after a few cycles, something subtle happened. Not dramatic. Not powerful. But noticeable. His chest loosened slightly. His shoulders dropped just a bit. And for a brief moment, his mind became quieter. Not silent, but slower. That, the instructor said, is control. Daniel opened his eyes slowly. "That's it?" he asked. The instructor looked at him calmly. "That is everything." Daniel didn't fully understand yet. But he didn't dismiss it either. Because for the first time, he had felt a shift. Not in his situation, but in himself. "You will repeat this," the instructor continued. "Every day. Not when you feel like it. Not when it's convenient. Every day." Daniel nodded. "How long?" The instructor looked at him for a moment, then answered. "Until your body listens, before your fear speaks." That answer didn't give him a timeline. But it gave him something more dangerous. Responsibility. The next days were not impressive. Nothing about them felt like transformation. Daniel woke up, practiced breathing. Before sleep, practiced again. In the elevator, in traffic, before meetings. Sometimes it felt pointless. Sometimes it felt mechanical. Sometimes he almost stopped. But he didn't. Not because it was working, but because he remembered that moment in the bathroom. That breaking point. And he knew. Going back was worse. Then, one afternoon, something happened. A situation he couldn't avoid. A meeting. Small. Simple. Routine. But for Daniel, it was always the same. Pressure. Expectation. Fear. He felt it building again. That familiar tightness in his chest. That invisible weight pressing down on him. His thoughts started racing. What if I mess up again? What if they notice? What if I freeze? And for a split second, the old pattern tried to take over. Escape. Stay quiet. Avoid. But this time, something interrupted it. Not a thought. Not motivation. A habit. He inhaled. For seconds. Held. Exhaled slowly. Again. And again. The fear didn't disappear. It was still there. But it changed. It wasn't overwhelming anymore. It wasn't controlling him. It was just present. And in that small gap, he spoke. Not perfectly. Not confidently. But clearly. And nothing bad happened. No judgment. No collapse. No disaster. Just normal. That moment did more than build confidence. It broke an illusion. The illusion that fear always leads to failure. But the instructor wasn't surprised when Daniel told him. Of course, he said calmly. This is what happens when you interrupt the pattern. Daniel nodded slowly. But then the instructor added something unexpected. This is still easy. Daniel frowned. That didn't feel easy. The instructor stepped closer. That is because you are still protected. A pause. In real change, there is no protection. The next session felt different from the moment Daniel walked in. There were others again. Standing. Watching. Waiting. The air itself felt heavier. What are we doing today? Daniel asked. The instructor looked at him. Today, he said. You stop running. Before Daniel could react. A movement. Fast. A strike came directly at him, stopping just inches from his face. Daniel flinched hard. His entire body reacted instantly. Heart exploding. Muscles locking. Breath gone. Another strike. Another reaction. He stepped back. Stop, the instructor said sharply. Daniel froze. I'm going to get hit, he said, his voice tense. No, the instructor replied calmly. You are going to feel something you have avoided your entire life. Another strike came. Closer this time. Faster. Daniel's instinct screamed louder than ever. Move. Run. Protect yourself. But then, breathe. That one word cut through everything. Daniel forced it. For seconds in. For hold. 6 out. It was messy. Unstable. But it was there. Another strike. His body reacted again. But less. Another. Still less. Time stretched. Seconds felt longer. But something incredible was happening. The fear was still there. But it wasn't growing. It wasn't escalating into panic. It was stabilizing. Good, the instructor said after a while. Daniel stepped back, shaking but aware. That felt real, he said. The instructor nodded. It felt real. But it wasn't dangerous. That distinction landed differently now. Your entire life, the instructor continued. You have confused discomfort with danger. And because of that, you run from everything that could make you stronger. Daniel stayed silent. Because he knew it was true. So we change that, the instructor said. How? Daniel asked quietly. The instructor looked directly at him. You stay inside the discomfort long enough for your body to learn a new truth. And what truth is that? Daniel asked. The instructor answered without hesitation. That you survive. That day changed everything. Because now Daniel understood something deeply. Fear doesn't disappear when you avoid it. It disappears when you outlast it. And for the first time in his life, he wasn't escaping anymore. He was standing still. In the middle of it. And breathing. By the time Daniel reached his 3rd month of training, something had clearly changed. Not on the surface. If you looked at him from the outside, he was still the same person. Same job. Same routine. Same life. But internally, everything was shifting. The fear was still there. But it didn't hit as hard. It didn't last as long. And most importantly, it didn't control him the way it used to. He could speak when he needed to. He could stay present under pressure. He could feel discomfort without escaping it. And for a moment, He thought he had figured it out, that he had solved fear. But that illusion didn't last long. Because one evening, after training, the instructor said something that completely changed the direction of everything Daniel thought he understood. "You've learned to control your body," he said calmly. Daniel nodded. "You've learned to stay in discomfort." Another nod. The instructor stepped closer. "But you still haven't faced your real fear." Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" The instructor looked directly into his eyes, his voice quieter now, but heavier. "The one you don't say out loud." Silence filled the room. Daniel didn't answer. Because he knew exactly what he meant. But he didn't want to say it. "Everyone has one," the instructor continued. "The fear beneath all fears. Not failure. Not judgment. Not embarrassment. A pause. Identity." Daniel's chest tightened again. Not from panic. From recognition. The fear of what it means about you if things go wrong. That hit deeper than anything physical training ever had. Because suddenly, everything made sense. Why he avoided speaking. Why he feared judgment. Why he worked endlessly. It wasn't about the situation. It was about what it proved. If I fail, it means I'm not good enough. That was the real fear. Not the event. The meaning behind it. "Say it," the instructor said. Daniel shook his head slightly. "I know it already." "That's not enough," the instructor replied. "Thoughts hidden in silence control you. Spoken, they weaken." Daniel swallowed. His throat felt tight. Not from fear of people, but from fear of truth. And then, slowly, "I'm afraid," he began. His voice cracked slightly. "That I'm not enough." The words felt heavy. Like something that had been buried for years, finally exposed. "That everything I've done," he continued, "is just luck. That one day, people will see it. That I don't deserve any of it." Silence. No judgment. No reaction. Just stillness. And then, "Good," the instructor said calmly. Daniel looked up, confused. "That's it?" he asked. "That's your enemy." Something strange happened in that moment. The fear didn't grow. It didn't intensify. It actually shrank. Because for the first time, it was clear, defined, visible. Not some invisible force controlling him from the shadows. Just a belief. And now, the instructor continued. "You can challenge it." That was the beginning of the hardest part of Daniel's transformation. Not physical training. Not breathing. But confronting his own mind. The next exercise seemed simple. But it wasn't. "Write down every fear you have," the instructor said. "Not situations. Stories." Daniel sat down that night and began writing. "I'm not good enough. People will judge me. If I fail, I'll lose everything. I don't deserve success." At first, it felt uncomfortable. Then it felt exhausting. Because he realized. These weren't random thoughts. These were patterns. Repeated for years. Unquestioned. Accepted as truth. The next instruction came the following day. "Now," the instructor said. "Prove them." Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" "Find evidence," the instructor replied. "Not feelings. Facts." Daniel looked at the first statement. I'm not good enough. He paused, then began listing evidence. At first, nothing came. Then the opposite started appearing. He had achievements, results, recognition, things that didn't match the belief. That's strange, Daniel muttered. The instructor nodded. Because it's not true. Daniel looked up. But it feels true. The instructor smiled slightly. Feelings are not evidence. That sentence stayed with him. Because it destroyed something fundamental. The idea that just because something feels real doesn't mean it is real. For the next week, Daniel questioned everything. Every assumption. Every catastrophic thought. Every what if. And one by one, they started collapsing. Not because they were forced away, but because they didn't hold up under scrutiny. What if people judge me? So what? What if I fail? You failed before. You survived. What if I'm not enough? Based on what? Each fear, when examined, lost its power, and something unexpected replaced it. Clarity. But the instructor wasn't finished. Now, he said, you prove it in reality. Daniel already knew what that meant. There was one fear that still stood above all others. Public speaking. Not small conversations. Not meetings. A real stage. Real people. No safety. No escape. The old Daniel would have found a way out. A reason. An excuse. But this version of him did something different. He signed up. A real event. Hundreds of people. Weeks before the day the fear returned. Stronger than before. Not because he was weak, but because this mattered. His chest tightened again. His thoughts sped up. What if I freeze? What if I fail again? But now, he had tools. He didn't try to eliminate the fear. He worked through it. Breathing. Daily. Consistent. Exposure. Practicing in front of mirrors. Friends. Small groups. Each time. Less resistance. Less panic. More control. And then, the day arrived. Backstage. Heart racing. Hands slightly shaking. The body was reacting exactly as expected. Nothing had changed there. But his mind was different. This is not danger, he told himself quietly. This is discomfort. I've been here before. He stepped onto the stage. Lights in his eyes. Silence in the room. The exact moment that used to break him. And for a split second, the old fear appeared again. But this time, he didn't fight it. He didn't run from it. He let it exist. And then, he breathed. For seconds in. For hold. 6 out. And he began to speak. The first words weren't perfect. But they didn't need to be. Because he didn't stop. Sentence after sentence. His voice stabilized. His body followed. And then something happened. That he never expected. He stopped thinking about fear. Not because it disappeared. But because it became irrelevant. He was focused. Present. In control. Minutes passed. Then more. And before he realized it, it was over. Silence. Then applause. Not loud. Not dramatic, but real. People came up to him after. "Thank you," they said. That helped. And in that moment, Daniel understood something deeply. Fear didn't disappear. It just lost authority. Months later, his life looked different. Not perfect, but expanded. He took risks, spoke more, lived more. Not because he became fearless, but because he stopped obeying fear. And that's the truth most people never learn. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision. That fear does not decide for you. And once you reach that point, everything changes. Because the same fear that once controlled you becomes the very thing that pushes you forward. Not as an enemy, but as fuel.